Hello, my name is Malika, and I assure you, if you don't know me, I don't normally dress like this. I am a clip artist, and I make a lot of different types of clips, playing different characters sometimes, and sometimes just being myself. Today I was playing the spirit of the winter solstice, and she was very mischievous today. Not unlike the character that we're going to be talking about today from Bad Santa. Now, this movie was released in 2003 and it stars Billy Bob Thornton, who is a personal favorite of mine, and Tony Cox. Now, Billy Bob Thornton, if you know anything about him, he is this very scrawny, very kind of wimpy looking guy, and he's playing Santa Claus at the malls. And Tony Cox is a little person, and he plays a little elf and a little helper. Every single year they do this, and what they're doing is they're waiting until the end of Christmas Day and they sneak into the mall and they rob the place. They're very naughty characters. And over the years, Willie, who is played by Billy Bob Thornton, has gotten a very extreme alcohol problem. And each year it gets worse and worse, and he is just a bad Santa. He absolutely hates Christmas. He hates having to do this. He doesn't like having these kids sit in his lap and have boogers all over their face and peeing on him, and then he's peeing on himself. It's a bad Santa. And he plays this character so well. It's almost like you would believe that he was actually inebriated throughout the whole movie because he does it so well. And he doesn't even try to pass as a real Santa when he's playing the character. He's stinky. Obviously, he smells like alcohol, and his beard's not on all the way. At one point, he was on his lunch break, and a child and a mother came up to him to say, "Oh, this is Santa. Do you want to talk to Santa?" And he spews out his lunch as he's saying, "I'm on my lunch break." He's the worst Santa ever. For this part of the story, they get to a mall, and the mall manager has kind of immediately been suspicious of them because obviously he is not a great Santa character. The mall manager isn't really a manly man and isn't really strong enough to stand up to other people or even for himself. So he goes to the mall security, which is played by Bernie Mac. And he's the absolute perfect character for this because the manager's telling him, "Oh, well, he said this and they were doing this." And Bernie Mac's just standing there looking at him, eating an orange. Making the most awkward silence, like, yeah, and? So these scenes lead to really funny interactions between Bernie Mac and the manager guy. And while Willie and Marcus are working the Santa Claus role, Willie comes across a little boy who's not so little. He's got dried boogers all over his nose, and he's just kind of staring at Willie, being kind of creepy, and Willie is not nice to any of the kids, obviously, but this kid is the type that just kind of stares and is kind of creepy, and this kid does the best job playing this role because you'd really think that there was something wrong with him the way he does it and how odd he acts. And he's got this super curly hair, and he's very overweight, and he's wearing these super tight clothes, so he just looks like he's not well taken care of. Well, he shares a little bit too much when Willie has to take him home at one point, and Willie finds out that his grandmother is the one watching him because his dad is in prison. Well, his grandma is not all there. She, again, is the best person for this role. All she does is like, "Oh, can I make you sandwiches?" And that's what she says to everything. The kid cuts his hand really bad. "Oh, I'll make you sandwiches." It's so funny. And every time she's sleeping, they always think that she's passed, so they're getting close and thinking she's passed, and she wakes up, she's like, "Oh, I'll make you sandwiches." It's so funny. So the mall manager has kind of been doing some digging on his own, and Willie has to leave the hotel that he's staying at, and he decides to go stay with the little kid and the grandma. Since the grandma's not there anyways, he can just kind of live there. But the kid still thinks he's Santa Claus, and there's a ton of really funny interactions that go on with that, with him doing this advent calendar and Willie getting drunk and eating all the chocolates from the advent calendar. But of course, by the end of the movie, against his will, Willie has kind of gotten a soft spot for this kid, and the kid's like, "Well, you didn't bring me a present this year. I was hoping you'd bring me one next year." And he wants a pink elephant stuffed animal. Now, Marcus, he always shops for his wife, and his wife just goes to the mall and she does her little shopping. She'll take pictures from the catalog and things like that of these expensive things, an expensive purse. So that's what Marcus is doing while Willie cracks the safe, but they're double crossed in one way. I don't want to give the movie totally away on how they're double crossed and what happens, but Willie does end up breaking away from being double crossed because the police actually show up, and he's trying to get to this little kid to give him that pink elephant, and he makes it to the doorstep. He's getting all shot up. Of course, he lives because there is a bad Santa too. Now, this one, unlike a lot of sequels, they did a really good job with this one as well. This one was released in 2016, and even though there was some double crossing going on, the gang has gotten back together and they're going to rob a charity up in Chicago. And this time, instead of playing the mall Santa, they have to go out on the street corner and ask for donations into that little bin, and all the donations that are going to be collected, they get to keep at the end, or they get to steal at the end. So how are they going to act on the street corner when someone gives them a nickel or something? They're just calling them cheap. They're saying all these bad things like give 100, give 20. It's really funny. It gets a fight with one of the Santas that's been doing it for a long time. It's a very funny movie as well. And of course, they bring in a new character, which is Willie's mother, and she's played by Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates is the one that did Misery. Incredible actress. And she is, at first we see her as playing like a sweet old lady when she's at the charity drive. But when they go back to her place, we find out she's got all these tattoos and she's got this super short hair and she's a lifelong criminal. And she says, at one point, she says, if I stopped talking to every man that shot me, you wouldn't be here, talking to Willie. Oh my gosh. It's just a criminal family. Willie hates her, but he decides to work with her. That is the basic gist of this movie. Obviously, there's lessons learned, and there's a lot of funny things that happen in these bad Santa movies. So certainly, if you are looking for a Christmas movie that isn't all wholesome, but is very Christmas themed, this is the perfect movie for you to watch. I definitely recommend the first one. The second one is good, but the first one obviously is fantastic, and he plays this character so very well, and I think you'll enjoy this movie. I hope you enjoyed this movie chat with my crazy antlers on, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. See you next Monday.